close to the Ministry of Communications when the Cybersecurity Act, which you just mentioned, was passed. And I want to thank him for the support that he gave to the process. So it's important to be here and to talk about the issue of misinformation, disinformation, as we're getting closer to elections. The authority selected a team as part of its annual National Cybersecurity Awareness Creation Program for this year, of course, because of the timing. We got just 3 months away into the elections. But it's not just that. I think as an authority, our work is dictated by the prevailing circumstances at the time. And you're right, the authority for the past months have observed a certain pattern that if we do not take care, the very democratic institution we've established over the years, I think Ghana has experimented this democratic development for the past 30 years. I think we have tried, and we have recognitions for that. But we are at a situation where new technologies are opening up other avenues on one hand to facilitate and enhance the democratic development processes. But at the same time, there are potential, if we do not guard against certain malicious acts deliberately, it could undermine the foundation of our democracy. And I'm saying this not just to really get people scared of anything. I think last few weeks we all witnessed what happened in the United Kingdom. There was rout where some residents took to the street with some destabilizing actions against their institution, people, properties. BBC even reported there was an element of disinformation, misinformation being circulated. That's and right. that motivated the team. But so look at a democracy like the United Kingdom. That's disinformation or misinformation is undermining the very stability of that country. How much more our democracy, which is still in a maturing processes. I think this is the pattern that we need to look at it from. It's not just, it's just nothing. There are some few patterns we've seen. Permit me quickly to share, so that because having visibility of the issues are quite important before we even talk about mitigation strategies. Absolutely. So, for example, the authority has uncovered false information created and circulated on WhatsApp platforms. I think this is the most common. Somebody deliberately or create an information that normally, when we examine, are quite injurious to certain political actors or some political institutions. I think that is danger. We've also seen social media account takeovers or cloning for misinformation. Just yesterday, I received a complaint from one of the top political actors on this, in which her account had been actually cloned to push for certain information that certainly undermined not just individuals involved in the processes, but also some of the institutions helping us organize our elections. We've also seen impersonation of politically exposed persons, institutions, but also public officials, all in the name of disinforming the public. Remember, our elections are based on decision making. Once you decide to vote for candidate A or B, it's based on a decision. And that decision is always based on information that you consume. And if this information is not factual, then certainly there are consequences in terms of the reasonability of the sort of choices, the decision that you are making. We've also seen blogging sites. The bloggers are quite active promoting important conversation, discourse on the internet, which I think our digital ecosystem is embracing. However, we've also seen few elements using blogging sites purposely to publish false information. Other areas are the website cloning. And we've seen mainstream media brands like Asaase Radio being impersonated by malicious actors and pushing fictitious information there. So again, it requires the citizens, our digital users, to be able to discern and to be able to establish that, look, this is not authentic site belonging to Asaase Radio. We've also seen YouTube channels with false content. Unfortunately, in this case, we have media personalities, in other words, accredited journalists, who are also publishing content on YouTube, which are unfortunately misinforming the public as far as the content being put there is concerned. But a big one is basically the deep fakes. AI is also entering into the conversation. And we've seen instances in which fictitious videos and images are being created also to disinform the public, basically to distort political messages, to undermine individuals who have decided that they want to put themselves up there as part of our democratic processes to stand for elections. Some of the messages are also to undermine the electoral management bodies and the people who are at the helm of affairs to do so. So I think these are some of the disturbing facts. But of course, as authority, we're also working with the national security establishment on the bigger, wider issue, which could also arise from organized elements to destabilize our elections that could even come from a nation state. So I think that is also being looked at it from a very wider, broader, and multi-agency level collaboration as we deal with the particular issue. But the most important thing is we need to reach out to the citizens. The citizens need to know that there are this information out there which are not credible, which seeks to influence negatively our perceptions, our thinking, our decision-making processes. And I think this is where we need to communicate extensively, not only to those who can hear us on Asaase radio, but also in the rural areas, in local languages, to be able to engage with them so that they can discern from whatever is put out to them, not just on social media, but because we've also seen, media personalities picking information on social media and extending that to listeners in various parts of the country.
I'm very pleased with the initial points you've made and the trends that you've listed. Indeed, the deep fake and generative AI that we can see across the globe and right here at home being weaponized for political gain. Now, I think I saw a video filter, like a snap filter.
Correct.
On Snapchat. Featuring the face of the vice president. Now, if somebody who you trust shared that information with you, chances are you're going to give it some attention. And coupled with the fact that technology today is so devolved, everybody is consuming and producing some content at the same time. What is the CSA's position and plans to proactively ensure that there's a setting, for the lack of a better expression, a trust certificate that allows me to know that this is credible or not? Is that something that's doable?
Look, thank you. I think the context is key. But let's admit the difficulty, even to an enlightened eye. It is extremely difficult to detect information that have been created with the deepfake. So the detection difficulty is one of the issues that we're dealing with. And I can understand that ordinary Ghanaians may not be able to distinguish between what is authentic and what has been created with a deepfake technology. Let's put that in perspective. Now the question of having a trusted certificate, I must admit, our digital ecosystem is now evolving. I do believe at some point, as we regulate the ecosystem, regulation had just started. But the Cybersecurity Act, which you mentioned was passed in 2020, is among the top, few countries on the African continent who have been able to put this thing out there. If you ask me, implementation of the Act, we are just around 25%. Of its implementation. So there is a gap. But again, the CSA is not the only regulator in the space. There is NITA, there is Data Protection Commission, there is NCA, and even there are other issues like artificial intelligence regulation, which we have not been able to situate totally within our digital ecosystem. So look, our digital ecosystem is work in progress. And I do believe at some point some of those mechanisms will be able to put in place. But the question here is, what is the quick win? What should we do now as a country before we wait to establish those certification regimes to be able to deal with the issue? And I want to point out what's an important work being done within the media and the civil society space. The fact-checking mechanism that are being implemented by these groups, I think is key for us to be able to check whatever we put out there, especially traditional media. Before you publish, you should be able to check some of those things. Mm-hmm. I've also been advocating that media house like Asaase Radio should have a research desk that those things will be scrutinized. There are technology there that can perform certain assessments to be able to determine whether this creation is basically coming from authentic sources or is being generated by a kind of forensic lab. You're not doing criminal forensic lab, but at least some sort of assurance lab to be able to check this is needed. Now, at the government, what is the government doing? The government role in this is enabler. Enabling intervention is, for example, the authority has a channel, 292. When a citizen has a suspicion, reasonable suspicion of information being circulated on social media which could misinform or disinform the public, other digital users, call 292 and at least seek guidance about how to handle this information. The 292 is basically a free, you don't pay anything for calling the 292.
Okay.
In a broader context, the National Security Ministry has also launched See Something, Say Something campaign. Mm-hmm. If such information borders on a broader, generic or broader security issues like terrorism or a threat that could destabilize our country, the number to call is 999. So these are some of the mechanisms that have been put in place as a quick win to be able to help. It is just a citizen who has to assume that civil responsibility. And I think we need to be very clear. It very much dependent on, because no one, it's not the government who is holding your device, it's you.
I know, but okay, so I mean, and this is to all our listeners. This is no disrespect to anyone, but I have a friend who once said, you have to be smart to use a smartphone. It's easy to do stuff intuitively on there, pretty much to consume. But if I'm on there, as you say, even the trained eye would need further attention, a detailed scrutiny to be able to say, this needs a double check.
Thank you.
So I think nobody would shirk their responsibility they have to ensure that they're not spreading falsehood. But the lines are so blurred that, I mean, how does somebody who has no clue what they're seeing be able to say, this is how I perform my responsibility to promote an environment, a cyber ecosystem that's clean and devoid of misinformation and disinformation?
Right. I wish, and this will be one of the ideas for the future, that we could install devices on people's smartphones so that it can automatically flag what is created by a deepfake. I do believe those things are emerging. R&D is one of the hot topics, the focus areas within the digital transformation ecosystem, because these are some of the solutions that we need going forward, that you put a smart device in the hands of a user, and once the person accesses a link or information, possibly you could have the alert, look, watch out that this is. Again, I made it, we are at a certain maturity level of our digital development, and I do believe at some point those things are likely to be, be in right shape. But again, in the absence of that, the only thing is empowering the user of the digital devices. Okay. I don't think we should create any false solution elsewhere. You hold the device, you are in your private room, no one is there, no one is monitoring your content. The government is not. isn't it? The telcos are not monitoring your content. So their responsibility here is the user. So the government intervention here is, look, call this number freely. Before you click, just verify. I think this is a message we should be able to share with the public. Verify empowerment. And that is why we need to really reach out, to our citizens. I think I will continue to emphasize the importance of that. And we've mentioned, Kweku, this whole Momo fraud discussion. If you look at the trend analysis, ask the players, the telecom chamber, MTN. I think if we are educating the public, really, Momo users, I do believe minimum 75% of fraud cases that are being reported will be prevented just by the citizens' user awareness. It's not really technology, so to speak. Once somebody gets your PIN, it can't really execute any action. True. But again, I think modern technologies are coming. We have biometric authentication mechanisms. So I think
then your two-factor authentication.
Absolutely.
On the number
These are the development. But for now, I think a user's responsibility, a user's awareness, education is so crucial to be able to mitigate the kind of threat that we face as we use the digital platforms.
We're going to, stick a pin in that and then come back to it in a little while. I would like for us at this point to sort of start unpacking the CSA's mandate,
Correct.
and try and get a sense of how far you've come and what you've done. As you indicated earlier, you are at 25% of implementing the Cybersecurity Act, which gave birth to the authority.
Correct, sir.
What would you say is your foundational mandate, and how well have you done in that regard?
Kweku, I think normally when it comes to assessment, I wish you could one day assemble panelists here, those who have really followed our development within this country to pronounce judgment on how well we've done. I'm not too good at that. In fact, Honorable Judge Anda, at some point when he was the Deputy Minister, actually put me on the spot in the same way. I think what I can say is CSA, I think there is a solid team of around 100 people who are so committed to deliver the mandate that has been provided within the Act. Our foundational mandate is to ensure that every digital user, every Ghanaian is protected from cyber threat. I think we've done so through a number of ways. So you have businesses, for example, the program to ensure that the critical information infrastructure systems, those are the foundation of our digital development, are protected. That is from the business standpoint. Children are also an important area. The protection of children is one area we've looked at it in terms of awareness creation, but a broader framework, we're working with UNICEF, for example, and second cycle students have been energized, sensitized, and we keep on educating them in this particular area. The public, and I must confess here, Kweku, one of the things that personally I feel the authority has delivered a mandate is the empowerment of the citizens. I think you understood how I was stressing the responsibility of a user. So we had to put what we call the point of contact for instant reporting. POC 292, and you are reaching someone 24 hours, irrespective of wherever you find yourself. And I've made this point in other forums. We've been able to help people to prevent the fraud. Some of them were losing 500 Ghana cedis, 1,000 Ghana cedis, and these figures are people's monthly salaries. I must say, these are people's living wages. So our ability to reach out to the rural folks, the underprivileged, to be able to still, even with their yam, connect to the CSA to seek guidance so that they don't share their Momo pins. For me, I think that is the most beautiful delivery as a public sector agency. It's not really about the big ones, but also who are, our colleagues who are also below the bottom line. So I think these are some of the elements that I do believe. Industry, we've been able to start with the regulation of cybersecurity service providers, cybersecurity professionals, really to build an ecosystem of cybersecurity professionals. You need visibility. How many do we have? Ghana is the second country to Singapore to have started this process, and it's basically to develop the cybersecurity industry that will help promote cybersecurity, but also secure our digital transformation. This is strategic. On one hand, we're developing our digital information infrastructure system, and you need the professionals who will be at the helm of affairs to secure this future that we're creating together. So I must say the records are with the ITU, just to conclude. Global Cybersecurity Index is the body, is the program or the mechanism that evaluates how nations are doing in terms of putting the fundamental measures in place to secure a country. So legislation, organizational measures, awareness creation, international cooperation measures. And Ghana in 2017 was rated 32.6%. As at the end of 2020, our percentage point moved to 86.69. So from
That's a
grade
big jump.
Absolutely. With Ghana now the third country in the whole of Africa, within the southern, within the Western and the Central African, we're number one, but on the African continent, number 3, globally number 43. We were somewhere 86. It's not really about that ranking, to put things in perspective, but I think there's a real commitment across both political divide, and I think this is where I want to also, commend both political actors. I think cybersecurity, one of the areas that Madame Eslows, who has been able to work closely with both dominant political parties, and we've got excellent support from both the NDC and MPP in Parliament and other forums to be able to move this agenda. I think that is where we have to. It's a security issue, and my expectation is, as a country, we should be able to look at this development in that particular direction. It is about the citizens' digital life and experiences that we need to work to protect. Yeah.
The world of one of the new trends is disinformation campaigns. We recall the investigation that revealed Russian troll farms across the world, including right here in Ghana. We are heading into a very important period in our history, the general election, where we will be voting for a president and parliamentarians. Now, based on what you've seen in the diversity of our regions, for example, how is the authority set to ensure a certain level of proactive support and protection as far as, disinformation campaigns are concerned?
Very well, okay, thanks. And the context you put is very important. So the disinformation issues, context-wise, both internal but also external, that you could have malicious external actor, being a criminal group or even a state, a nation state, possibly acting against the democratic interests and the collective will of Ghanaians. And I think we've seen that. The European elections, the American elections, and of course elections are elections. There are commonalities of which malicious actors could take advantage. I must say here, from where I sit, the National Security Establishment, led by the National Security Coordinator, is leading this process because it is a cross-agency responsibility. The police has a responsibility. Our external intelligence agencies are also involved, the internal intelligence agency and other parties, of which this is then addressed at the national security level. But at the CS level, let me also emphasize that, because you mentioned the element of being proactive. We are interested in protecting most of the institutions which are involved in elections. These institutions are normally called the critical information infrastructure institutions. So we are working to ensure that their system, technology, infrastructure, their systems, their network environment are protected to ensure the security of any digital environment that may be involved as far as election processes are concerned. So that is one area that we are looking at it. But I think, again, the big one is awareness creation, because remember, being proactive is also being warning and alerting our citizens. And I think that is why the NASAM, this year NASAM, the team has come back to misinformation. Mm-hmm. And we engage in not just the civil society, the media houses, like what you're doing, but we intend to, in the month of from now till the elections, to engage with even the faith-based organizations, like the churches. We need to engage with my team at the CSA that, look, start speaking to your pastors for slot. 30 minutes you need to speak to your congregation. Mm-hmm. After the pastor has spoken, get a slot and also educate them on misinformation, disinformation. We intend to work with the Ghana Journalists Association to have some engagement at the regional level, so that our radio stations are quite active across the regions and even the district. Yeah. And these presenters are quite active, and they pick information that normally the bloggers and others put on social media. So we need to also really extend education awareness to them, so that they can be guided as to what information they pick and how they relay that information to the citizens, who ultimately will have to make a decision on December 7th.
It's 8:45. You're listening to the Asaase Breakfast Show, and I'm Kweku Inshira-Addo. My guest this morning is Dr. Albert Antwi-Boasiako, is the Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority. And as we head into elections 2024, we're all concerned. I mean, the threats to our peace in the past had been people wondering if elections would be devoid of people trying to snatch ballot boxes. Today, the threats have moved into the cybersphere, and we're trying to understand what the CSA is doing in collaboration with several different agencies and institutions in the country to ensure that we rid ourselves of mis and disinformation. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll go back into our conversation. Your thoughts are welcome. Send us your comments or questions, and we will do well to share those with the Director General. Stay with us.
The era of playing small is officially over. It's time to scale up and evolve. It's time to connect with opportunities that unlock bigger possibilities. Whether you're a startup with a big idea or a company ready to shake things up, Telecel is your partner. This is a world where partnerships thrive, visions become reality, and goals are achieved. We turn sparks into flames, dreams into realities, because when energies connect, incredible things happen. Transform your business ideas into success stories with Telecel Business. Choose from a wide range of products and services tailor-made to drive your business. Call 0302-334040 or email business@telecel.com.ga to sign up today. Telecel Business, connecting opportunities, connecting goals, connecting businesses.
Telecel.
Gasaba. Smoke from firewood and charcoal is harmful and as damaging to our lungs as cigarettes. It can cause heart diseases, leading to stroke, and may even affect our eyesight in the long run. Grandmothers, mothers, sisters, wives, men, caterers, and everyone still cooking with charcoal, let's switch to LPG gas. The National Petroleum Authority has introduced the cylinder recirculation model in collaboration with local partners to make gas more accessible in all local communities. Whether you own a cylinder or not, join our CRM initiative. Simply show up at any exchange point near you with a small down payment to receive a filled cylinder or swap your empty one. Regular safety checks will be in place. Say Ebisa Musemo or gas. Afedia Gasaba. Switch from firewood and charcoal to gas for a better and healthier life. This message is brought to you by the National Petroleum Authority and the Ministry of Energy.
Ora,
Pacho, what does one feel cylinders were ha?
Oh, I knew. Now we been for so big a womb. So we fill with gas cylinder no ewa ha. And yes, we cylinder no one ye beshe say. Bibia eko ye wo hu. Nemo muno. Ubetimi ato dudu bia wo sika beso. Na die man ye deke sekra ne say. Wodi weni be hu dodo a ofe ya ma ubia. Enti bukata sem bia enim.
We die fili kaduchi. Se we ni tuemu a ye ndi njao. Sanka nye LPG stations a. Anka yen taxi drivers. Deni ebeye.
Na sa LPG gas stations. Omo to me krat homodi ye adwuma no.
Sisi akra die. LPG stations ni nyina no. Ubetimi to ho ato sokra senkane no. LPG stations se won man mu die. Every tete and a National Petroleum Authority ama your license. Ghana Fire Service, Ghana Standards Authority, Factory Inspectorate, any EPA so tayechi.
Inti eno krese LPG stations eye Ghana for die.
Anio, so wo fele wo cylinder e wo your gas stations wa. Na wo boa ama Ghana nyuma etumpon. Mechire se LPG nkwani industry a e wo man Ghana mu a eye 100% Ghana for die.
Sika no beka heya.
And this is Asaase Radio.
Welcome back from that break. Guest in the studio this morning is the Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Antwi-Boasiako. So let me paint a scenario. Hopefully that helps frame the question better. Mark Zuckerberg and his Meta sit in Silicon Valley in California.
Correct.
I'm living here in Accra. Somebody in Samaraboy buys a smartphone, downloads one of the apps. Instantly, they're exposed to content as being generated and produced by different people. We've seen the use of deepfake and some of the disinformation campaigns running.
Correct.
Now, if I'm none the wiser to that information, it means I'm exposed. If I believe it's believable enough for me,
correct,
I would share it with someone else. So then I inadvertently will be aiding the people behind this disinformation campaign.
Correct.
How is the agency ensuring or working with these platforms
correct,
to create some sort of a filter or a barrier to either quickly take down disinformation campaigns or help users be able to make prudent decisions on what they're consuming?
Okay, this is excellent, and the context you've created highlights a particular problem that we have as a country in addressing the issue of disinformation, misinformation holistically. It is true, citizens are consumers of platforms, digital technology produced, hosted in the West. I think there's it. Even if you look at the statistics, Ghana is among the top 10 countries who are active on social media in terms of the time spent. So yes, the platforms are not developed and hosted here, but we are the topmost, among the topmost as far as the users. So once we use them, we don't use them only for positive, but also for some of this negative usage that could even affect our election. Now, there is a wider problem as to enforcing legislations. I think I want to point to things as something we need to really fix. Possibly we need to test our existing legislation in terms of checking the accountability of these big tech firms, the social media platforms. I don't think we have. There has been discussion with the Data Protection Commission, the CSA, NITA, NCA in this particular area, but we have not tested the law as to our current regulatory environment, not just CSA Act, but other related legislations. We will have a way of ensuring that there is a complete, expected, assured accountability from the providers. Two, if it's not, then we need to look at strengthening our legislation to be able to ensure, I use the word accountability, exactly. It's not really affected. They are contributing positively to us. You look at how social media platform has really helped us to expand information access and circulation to our citizens. So there are a whole lot of positives. But again, how do we ensure they are being accountable in checking the excesses that could undermine our cultural, political, economic, social values as a country. We have not done well as a country in this particular area, and I think we need to fix that as soon as possible. Why? Because other countries are taking decisions in that area. I think European Union is one bloc that has come up strongly to ensure that the tech firms are playing by the rules as far as accountability, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do is concerned. Some countries recently, I think Brazil has taken an action. I don't think that is the way Ghana would like to go. Okay. Banning X, and I can imagine the kind of reaction that could come from the media, especially at this time. The government has banned social media to rig elections. Yeah. That is likely to be the headline, from a traditional media house. I don't think, again, my understanding from the policy owners, let's say our ministers for communication, national security and others, I don't see this as the direction that they are giving to us as heads of technical agencies. But again, what are we then supposed to do? That's our challenge. We engage with Meta, we engage with Twitter X on information sharing. Okay. In some cases, they remove the content. In some cases, they do not. In other words, mainly it works around voluntary compliance, which I think is not the best as a country. And that is why I'm recommending that we should test the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that we should have this collective focus in terms of pulling whatever legal avenues to be able to deal with this issue. And if not, we should strengthen the legislation. But for now, I think we work with them on voluntary basis. There's a point of contact that we use. And sometimes they drag their feet, and that is not a bit respected to a sovereign state like Ghana.
Is it possible that in strengthening legislation, we have a legislative framework around cybersecurity or the usage of such platforms in conformity with the standards we expect of our people? Because these platforms would have what they call their community standards.
Correct.
Now, where the community standard is not necessarily in line with the standards which we've set here, how do you manage the gap?
That is really a big one. That is where the conversation, they keep on, you're right, they keep on saying, well, we won't remove this because it does not meet the threshold of removal. Mm-hmm. And again, I see this as a disrespecting comment to a sovereign state. I think a sovereign state has, or as you mentioned, it has a contest in every respect of the word contest. And I think going forward, the conversation needs to be very clear. I know it can be very difficult. Ghana has been part recently of negotiating an international convention on cybercrime, and I've had opportunity to sit in some of this conversation. It's not an easy conversation to achieve a compromise, to have some sort of interoperable standards that will be applicable in the West, but also within a specific African context. I do agree, there are challenges, but I think there are certain bottom line considerations that if we have a legislation as a UN member state or as a sovereign state, and that legislation criminalizes or raises offense of a particular act, and you are a tech provider, a social media provider, I think you need to sign up to operate in that country. You need to sign up to that. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes there's a bullying from the West, sometimes it's just about disrespect. But I do believe that the principle of cooperation should be respecting what Ghanaian parliament have decided that this is what? An offense against the Ghanaian establishment. Okay. And I do believe we should have lawyers, we should have political office holders, we should have policymakers to advocate strongly. If we think we need to change our values to adopt American values or the Western values, that is fine. But if we, the people represented by Parliament, decide that these are values that we need to stay on as a country, we should have a frank conversation with our partners in the West to ensure that we want this technology, we want X to operate here, we want LinkedIn. But again, that respect for a sovereign state ought to be upheld. Thank you.
Now, this month of September is themed the Cybersecurity Month.
Correct.
What key activities is the authority, the CSA, of course, lining up to mark this month, of course, to drive more awareness, especially as we're less than 3 months away from from our elections.
That's very true. Yeah, I think last Sunday we did a media launch, and Asaase represented and other media houses. We had good participation from the civil society partners, and media partners were there. Activities line up. Quite a number. Of course, there will be October 1st, the launch of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month itself. We are being hosted by the military. They've been quite active and shown interest in this particular area. So the CDS will be hosting both government ministers and also private sector, civil society actors to deliberate that in that context. So, of course, our international partner, diplomatic corps will also be there as part of this process. But then there are other few activities. Industry Forum is one of the areas we want to bring industry together in Ghana to support this process. I do believe the industry needs to own cybersecurity. Government is only enabling, doing the law, doing the policy. We want industry to really take responsibility to drive the cybersecurity development of the country. So we're bringing them together with some innovations and conversation as to how we need to take the next level forward. We're also looking at engagement on child protection practices, online child protection. So we've introduced National Cybersecurity Challenge. This is more like the quiz form, but on cybersecurity issues affecting the children and the youth. And I think it's been quite exciting. So October will be showcasing that as well. But we intend to also make ourselves available to media platforms. And I think this is where we played into other stations and media outlets to give CSA, our office, the platform to be able to have a conversation, to educate the public. And again, the door-to-door campaign of CSA in this case is to reach out to groups, churches, mosques, to really discuss the issue of misinformation, disinformation, and guiding them at a local level, just to at least we expect to give them some sort of clarity that, look, not everything that you see is what? Legitimate. And then empower them to call 292 if they need be. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're grateful for time spent with us this morning, Dr. Antwi-Boasiako. And we wish you all the very best, and you and the entire team at the Cybersecurity Authority.
Grateful to you, Koko. Thank you.
Check with your time. It's 2 minutes past 9 on the Asaase Breakfast Show.